I'm going to bet that you are sick and tired of this planet being controlled by crazy people. So let's talk about our real purpose here on Earth and what we should be doing in light of our situation. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. I want to talk to you specifically about our purpose here as lightworkers, starseeds, and people who generally care about this planet. We need to talk about our actual purpose here and what it is that we can do. Now, things might seem a little bit quiet on our planet right now, and it might seem that we have a bit of a reprieve. However, these controllers are planning, setting up for their next weird scenario, and we seriously ourselves, we need to get ourselves together and finally step up to the actual reason that we are human beings and the actual reason that we exist on this planet at this particular time. So I want to get into some real specifics about how we are designed as human beings and for what purpose, and how we can begin to really sincerely and genuinely begin to live that purpose in a way that it starts to make a difference. But before I get started, I want to remind you that in just 2 weeks from now, which is August 1st, Tuesday, August 1st, I will be opening the doors for only 2 days to my private Cosmic Journey membership for new people to come in and join us. This has been, I actually started this membership last December. I haven't opened it up to new people since then, but I'm going to be doing it for a couple of days now. But this has turned out to be such a beautiful, powerful, and transformational shared experience and community. So if it's something you're interested in, I do have a wait list below that will have the information that you need, and then you can be reminded when those doors open and for a couple of days starting on August 1st. So the link is in the description. You can sign up on the wait list, and then you'll get all the information that you need, and then you can make a decision if you think this is something for you. Okay, so let's get into the topic of this week's video. I want to start with a little bit of context. Now, there are a lot of beautiful people who consider themselves to be light workers who I think may have fallen into an idea of purpose that you might want to reconsider. Because you see, purpose is not just what you believe is your purpose. Purpose is actually what you do as an expression of that purpose. Now, there are people who consider themselves to be light workers who have somehow, probably inadvertently, come to believe that our purpose is to sit around and do maybe nice things, be a nice person, be loving and all of that, but sit around and basically wait for the universe to magically turn this planetary disaster into the new Earth. And I truly think that this has actually become kind of a popular way of looking at things. But I want you to pay attention to something. I want to show you a particular contrast. On the one hand, we have good people who care about the Earth and who look forward to their version of a new Earth, which of course would be a very beautiful, very harmonious, and very loving new Earth. And then on the other hand, we have the controllers who are also looking forward to their own very special version of a new Earth. So both groups very much want a new Earth. Both groups are happy to see the old Earth collapsing. That much they have in common. Both groups think that the collapse of our civilization, the collapse of everything on Earth, is going to lead to their version of a positive end. they really actually have that in common if you think about it. Now, let me show you where the contrast is. A lot of good people who want the new Earth are doing little or nothing to actually create that new Earth. Their thinking is that the universe or white hats or Trump or ETs or whatever that idea of salvation is, they're thinking that these other characters are going to create that new Earth for them. So the people that I just described are actually not really doing much of anything other than hoping and assuming that someone else has this all under control. And I know this is true, you guys, because they tell me all the time in the comments. Now, hold on a second. I want you to think about something. I want you to imagine what would happen if the controllers took this exact same position themselves. They too have their idea, their version of a new Earth. What if, try to imagine this, what if these controllers sat around and said, you know what, the universe is going to make this happen, or there's invisible characters that we don't see that are going to make this somehow happen. And all, the Weffers, and there's actually a new group I've created. I call them the Unners. That would be these guys. So see if you can figure that one out. We'll talk about that later. But the Weffers and the Unners, the people that are in control, imagine if they took the same position that so many good people and lightworkers and starseeds are taking for their version of the new Earth. Imagine if the controllers did the same thing and just assumed that it was all invisibly being taken care of. It was all going to burst onto the scene suddenly and as if by magic. Do you guys think they'd actually get that new Earth that they want to get? They don't call it that. They call it the Great R. We know what that stands for, right? But that is basically their version of their new Earth. Imagine now, if somebody told you that that was their position, what would your thinking be? Well, you'd think, that's crazy. Those guys aren't going to accomplish anything. We have no worries. It's over. They're never going to get their version of the new Earth. Yay, right? Because we would actually probably use common sense if we applied that same methodology to the controllers themselves. And honestly, this is what actually makes me suspect that this weird kind of new age passivity, doing nothing, waiting for the universe, waiting for the savior, waiting for whatever, this waiting mode, thinking that's going to create this incredible planet Earth, I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe it's just a bit of mind control. Why do I say that? Because I think those very same people that believe that that's the way to approach our situation, I think those very same people, if you suggested to them that the controllers would take the same position about their version of the new Earth, like maybe they have secret characters in the wings who are really going to create it, like I said, and burst it onto the scene, I don't think anybody would buy that. They would say, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. There's no way they're going to reshape this entire planet, reshape this entire civilization, reshape all the industries, the systems, the energy, like all the stuff they talk about, right? We'd use common sense. These same people that are willing to passively sit around and wait for the good new Earth would never think that the controllers would be that dumb, right? So this is why I think I'm very suspicious that this strange passive position could very well be a bit of mind control happening somewhere along the way. Because if you have one side sitting around not really doing anything except to wait for invisible somebodies to fix it all, and on the other hand, You have the people who are serious, who are planning, who are working, who are actually constructing something. Which side do you think is actually going to succeed? Think about it. It's a very interesting question. Now, it's not that there are just these two groups. There's actually a third group of light workers who are serious about actually discovering what needs to be done in order to participate in Earth's evolution in an entirely effective way. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about our actual purpose as human beings and why we exist at all. As beings, we are powerful creators who are perfectly designed to interface with the laws and principles of creation in this universe. There is no other creature on this earth who has this capacity, just us. Animals don't have this ability, and neither do plants. The idea of creating, especially in really big ways, is solely a human function. This is why we're often considered the caretakers of a planet. So when we are on a planet as a human being, our role is to contribute something to the creation and evolution of that planet. In order to be able to do this, we also need to evolve ourselves. So contributing to the creation and evolution of a planet can occur at many, many different levels, and eventually at multidimensional and interdimensional levels. So if you were wondering, what the heck am I doing on such a crazy planet like this? Well, I don't know, but maybe you're here to develop yourself in terms of just one phase of your evolution as a human being, so that eventually as you go through your journey in the cosmos, not just this one little lifetime, but your journey in the cosmos, you are evolving yourself for a singular purpose, which is the one that I just described. So can we evolve ourselves in this big, larger context, this larger cosmic universal context? Can we continue our evolutionary journey as human beings, understanding what our ultimate purpose is? Can we do that here? And why would we not do it here? Why would we not try to do it here? Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of even being in this weird situation? Now let's talk about what this means in the larger perspective of Earth. We need to start with the broadest context in order to tune into our purpose here. The broader context is that Earth is part of a much larger universal movement to evolve out of duality. This massive, multidimensional and interdimensional universe is evolving out of duality. It's on its way to becoming whole again instead of being split into two main parts, which is a symptom of duality. So Earth is a part of that process because Earth is a part of the universe. Now, in our highest role as human creators, we are alchemists of energy. We are manifestors. It is our highest role on any given planet to literally change the way in which energy manifests in the physical. We are designed to be the physical stewards of planetary evolution. But in order to do that, we have to evolve ourselves back into that capability. Now, let me show you how large this human role actually is when at some point we stop playing so small. Let's take a look at the real problem here on this planet. Let's look at how duality affects natural life here. We can start with the food chain. Every living thing on Earth must feed on something else that is also alive. We literally feed on the life force energy of other living beings to the extent that in order for something to live, something else must die. When I use the word we, I'm referring to everything on Earth that is alive. A living being, whether that be an insect, a plant, or an animal, or a human being, a living being has to die in order for something else to live. Yet, we barely even notice that this is the case. The reason we don't notice is because we do not have a cosmic perspective. We do not share an evolutionary perspective. And if we did, we would be noticing this immediately in a way that shows us that this is wrong, that this should not be happening, that the fact that this is happening clearly demonstrates that something has gone dramatically wrong within this reality. And whether you are a vegan, a vegetarian, or a meat eater, you have to, whether you like it or not, you have to be the cause of something else's death in order for you to survive. It's literally the only way that you can physically survive. Now, this is not about the type of entities you are eating and whether they are plant or animal. When you look at the bigger picture, that issue is really a side conversation. That is in no way central to the issue, the larger dimensional issue that I'm talking about. The central issue is about needing someone else's life force in order to stay alive. And every single living creature on Earth, all species, every single one, shares in this dilemma. Now, there are people who call everything I just described the beauty of nature. But there's nothing beautiful about this. It's a complete distortion of nature. I mean, think about it. Why are we unable to live on our own infinite life force instead of taking it from another living being? And I'm not just talking about humans when I say that. I am talking about animals, plants, insects, fish, every creature that has to live inside of this state of reverse flow duality. The reason that none of the living creatures on this planet can live based solely on their own infinite life force, which is sourced in the infinite, is solely because of duality and because of the reverse flow of energy that duality does produce. Now, if people listened to their hearts, I wouldn't even have to point any of this out. It would be obvious. People would automatically know that this is all wrong and that this type of manifestation should not exist. And of course, we have the religious perspective on all of this, which is yet another passive perspective, which looks at all of this and says, oh, if it's this way, it's because God wanted it this way. If it's this way, it's because this is how God created it. Well, if you believe that, then you believe that God wants pain, suffering, and death. What kind of a God would create the scenario that I just described? I mean, that is not a God of love. No, what's going on here is the result of an error, the result of a mistake, the result of an error in manifestation that occurred somewhere along the way, and now it needs to be corrected, and now that is why the universe is evolving out of it. The universe evolving out of this duality is what we could call a type of healing. It is about the universe restoring itself to its original state of oneness. And we and this planet are all a part of this larger, massively huge cosmic evolution. Evolution in this sense, you could say, is about restoration. But the problem we have right now is that we are so far away from our original divine selves as human beings that we tend to just shrug our shoulders and say, what can we do about that? And it's sad that people think that veganism will solve this, because it won't solve this problem. In order to solve it, you would have to have a focused, highly, highly powerful collective of divine, fully intact humans who could access the literal energetic blueprint of this planet and be able to restore it, along with all of life on it, to its original infinite state of being. And in that infinite state of being, every single thing that exists, every life form, every creature, no matter who or at what level, absolutely lives on its own infinite life force. There's no food chain. There's no devouring of other living things in order to stay alive. That doesn't exist in reality with all capital letters. It doesn't exist there. Duality and the food chain and all of this stuff produces suffering, death, and pain. That is the core problem in this dimension and on this planet. Now, going back to what I said a minute ago about our original divine empowered selves as creators, as human creators, and acting upon our true purpose and why we even exist at all, going back to that idea, we are so extremely far away from that at this point. We're not even close. Our solutions all boil down to someone else will do it. Someone else will handle it. It's surely not us, because we have been bred to think like this for many, many thousands of years. Actually, it's even longer than that, because this kind of thinking has its origins on other planets as well. So let's just pause for a minute and start from where we are right now. Evolution is not some religious ritual where we do all the right spiritual things. It doesn't even mean to just be kind and loving. And it's not even about following a path of personal growth. It's about stepping away from all of our tricks and tactics and realizing that on a cosmic level, we do not currently have the capability to influence this planet's evolution. And that's mainly because we don't have a wide enough view to understand what the final outcome should be. And if you want that information about the final outcome, go ask your heart. It's actually right there for you to see it. It's not like it's some secret, inaccessible message. See, we need to be crystal clear about the final outcome that this planet is journeying on its way to becoming. And then we need to be able to align with that outcome in the full presence of who we are as human creators, because that's step one of what even gives us a chance to participate in that evolutionary journey. Now, I think what gets us really confused is the nature of the physical world that we live in. So let me tell you something about the physical world. The physical world that we see around us represents something that already happened. Everything you see and witness has already been created, including your own physical body. So everything you see and experience in the physical world in any given moment is representative of a past creation. In other words, whatever it took to bring that something into being has already taken place. And this condition changes from moment to moment to moment. So everything out here that we see and experience has already taken place. So how do we as human creators influence something that has already taken place? We start by evolving ourselves in such a way that we learn to have influence over our own energy. So we can stand here and look around at the planet. You can look around and say, I truly have no idea how to have a major influence on this manifestation. But if you understand what you are meant to be and how you were originally designed as a cosmic creator, it becomes obvious that the first step is to restore yourself. Because if we don't restore ourselves as cosmic conscious creators, we will never be able to have the influence that this planet needs to end all the suffering. Therefore, our obvious purpose at this time and space is to restore ourselves so that we are capable of something that is truly useful at a cosmic level of evolution. Essentially, we need to start by restoring our human capability as energy alchemists. And now you can look at your own body and your life as your private laboratory within which you can rediscover how to do this. See, everything that is physical matter is energy vibrating at a certain frequency. The more complex the manifestation, the more complex the assortment of frequencies that make up that manifestation. Now, the cool thing is that because of our system of chakras, our consciousness and life force are connected to the full range of frequencies that make up life on this planet. This means that we are capable of being fully present at all of those levels. And that is completely by design, with the specific intention that we have the ability to influence how creation evolves and manifests on Earth. So we want to start by understanding that we can have influence over ourselves as a creation and over how that self evolves. That's where we need to put our focus. Because until we achieve that level of influence with ourselves, we will not have the capability to have the necessary influence over the natural evolution of other life forms on this planet. Remembering, of course, that all of the life forms on this planet also need to evolve out of duality, along with the planet itself. Now, we also want to enter into this with a certain frame of mind and of heart. It starts with losing our tendency towards impatience and being demanding. We cannot be demanding or impatient for this to happen in our ego's personal time frame. That's because we are part of something that is way, way, way bigger than ourselves. All that is asked of us is to make a sincere and humble effort to restore ourselves to our natural capacity as powerful, loving creators. I think a certain measure of humility, of love, and of devotion to truth is required. And I'm not talking about the truth as it is espoused on the internet. I'm talking about the actual truth that can only be found from within your heart. Now, step one, after you willingly enter into that humble state of mind, step one is to get to know yourself, not the self that the ego says you are. I'm talking about yourself as an energy being of pure consciousness. It's about knowing yourself purely as a state of energy, without the mental interpretations and projections. Just pure energy. And then look and see how beautifully complex and flowing you are when you're not projecting on yourself. Now, in order to do this, you will have to take some time away from the screens. That's because when you are staring at a screen, you are not entirely in your body. This type of getting to know yourself that I'm talking about is best done in a state of meditation or done quietly as you simply just go about your day. We're really just talking about increasing your consciousness and awareness, your actual human presence when it comes to just you, to just your natural, normal state of being. Now, think about this. What if you understood yourself as a neutral creator who is simply done with creating the same old looping thoughts day after day after day? Who would you be if you just stepped away from those looping thoughts that continuously inform you about who you supposedly are? Now, the truth is that energy is very fluid, and you are very fluid. It's the rigid, unyielding thoughts that keep your energy stuck. It's those same looping thoughts that happen all day long that keep you trapped in a prison of a false identity, of a very limited identity that really doesn't have a lot of capability when it comes to influencing the evolution of a planet. So I encourage you to start by experimenting with this different way of knowing yourself. We need to start by breaking up the concrete of our false, rigid identities. And I want to point out, while I'm on that topic, I want to point out that it's a good idea to notice how intensively the controllers are trying to lock us in to a false, rigid identity of their making, not even of our making. They want us to be so closed-minded, so rigid, so shut down in these fake identities that they project. And part of the reason, and this is really about physics in a way, part of the reason they want us fighting with each other, like this identity fights with this identity and then this other one over here, and there's all these different identities that collect in tribes of the same identities and then fight each other, because when those fake identities are fighting against each other, they're adding energy to each of the fake identities. So that's another reason they want us fighting and divided. Now, putting that aside and just coming back to just considering ourselves as we naturally are in our current situation. It's the false personas and limiting identities that keep us locked in a patterned, low-level way of being that stands in the way of our highest selves. Now, I want to share one other thing with you, because we don't want to get ourselves trapped in this thought of, oh, well, if we can't end the food chain, if we can't end duality, then what good is anything that we're trying to do right now? This is yet another reason why a cosmic and what I often call extraterrestrial, meaning beyond the planet, not just locked down on the planet, but bigger than the planet. This is another one of the reasons that I often bring that up. See, even if you don't succeed right now in influencing the evolution of this planet in the deepest of ways that could end the cycle of death that I talked about earlier, you still need to do this for yourself. We still need to do this work at evolving ourselves in the way that I've been describing. That's because the context, the larger real context of our existence is the universe. It is the infinite universe. And it's imperative that we stop playing small so that we can once again, as human beings, serve as assets wherever we might be needed, either on this planet or somewhere else. So this propensity to wait around for God or the universe to fix everything, guys, this propensity really has to stop. It should be obvious that this way of thinking has already failed. It failed a long time ago. You know it has failed Because if that's how things worked, that fix would have happened eons ago. And if you still believe this, then where is your line? How do you reconcile the fact that your Savior, whoever you think that is, has allowed for eons of untold suffering to continue for this long and yet still hasn't delivered the goods? How do you continue to excuse your idea of such a Savior? If this entity or entities or whatever that you believe in has that kind of power, then where the heck are they? What is all of this withholding about? Because if that belief is true, which it's not, then one can only conclude that God itself must be evil to be sanctioning this much pain. Fortunately, it's not true, or we would all be screwed. Because this Savior that people believe in, whatever form that Savior is taking for any given people or group or whatever, this Savior isn't coming. I think that should be kind of obvious by now. Why is it that we continue to pin all of our hopes on something that has repeatedly failed and failed and failed and failed to materialize for thousands of years? See, until we align with how things actually work in this universe and align with the universe's actual evolutionary process, then nothing we do is going to make any measurable difference. So the larger point that I'm making is that we are not standing on a platform that gives us the power that we really need. And in order to stand on that platform, in order to live from that place, it's going to take a lot of humility, and it's going to take a lot of surrender. It's going to take an awful lot of letting go. Letting go of all these beliefs that continue to fail, that continue to never materialize, while we watch yet another civilization going down. And how many civilizations are yet to go down on planet Earth, because every time a new one emerges, the people continue to believe stuff that does not work. So let me go all the way back to what I was talking about in the beginning of this video, which is the fact that the controllers are right now, as we speak, planning and working and physically creating their diabolical system of darkness, right? What are we doing? While they're doing all of that, what are we doing, and what is it that we need to do? I think we need to start by reframing our existence in a way that is in alignment with how this universe actually evolves. We can start by understanding why human beings were even created in the first place. Why do we exist as human beings? We exist as creators for a very specific purpose when it comes to this particular universe that we are a part of. When it comes to this particular universe, our purpose as human creators is to have a positive influence on the evolution of planets in this space. Not just Earth, everywhere in the universe. Because we're talking about the existence, the literal purpose of the creation of a human being. We are meant to be the stewards of the evolution of this universe, not like we're the whole universe, but wherever we are placing ourselves, wherever we are placed in the universe. Right now, we're placed on planet Earth. But there's a whole lot of other planets that are evolving right along with this one, all of them at different levels. different dimensions of reality. So we need to start by understanding our existence in that much bigger context. So I'm really speaking about us as light workers. I don't really like that word, but I guess you guys know what it actually denotes, right? If you don't like the word, don't use it. I don't like it. I don't use it for myself because I just think worker, the worker part of it is just so lame sounding. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, referring to people that have a purpose of wanting to have that influence. And I'm sure that anyone who is here as a light worker or a starseed feels in their heart that they came here to do exactly that, have a positive influence, because that is the truth of who we are as creators. So we want to start by understanding our existence in that much broader context. If we limit ourselves to only understanding ourselves on planet Earth and that's all there is and that's all we know, what's going to happen? We're going to sit here, we're going to say, oh man, this place is so horrible. I just can't wait to get out of here. Why did I even come here? I want to go back home. I want to go to my other planet. I want to go to some other dimension, but I don't even know why I'm here. This place is ridiculous, right? That's the only place left to be. And that's not in alignment with the truth. So the truth is, we're on planet Earth. We see that it's a disaster, right? We start by understanding who we are as creators, what our larger purpose is in the universe. We're here right now. This is where we need to continue expanding our capacity to function as conscious creators who can influence the evolution of a planet in the context and in harmony and in coherence with the entire universe and its evolution. Okay, so that's where we start. Then we look at ourselves and we say, I don't really feel like I'm in a position to be able to act upon that purpose because I don't understand it. I don't understand myself. I feel kind of lost, or whatever it is for you. From that point on, if you understand your purpose, then you recognize that step number 1 is to start on a path of restoration of yourself to that original blueprint of who you were actually created to be. Who were you created to be in this universe that you're not being now? Not that you are to blame. This isn't about blame or accusation or any of that. It's simply that that's who you're not being right now. So the goal is to look at yourself as a conscious energy being. And the goal is to work toward bringing yourself back into alignment with that original blueprint, that original self. And I think we should stop calling it the higher self like it's out there somewhere, because it's not out there. It's not out there in space. It's who we actually are when we're not suffocated by all of the junk, the mind control, the programming, just the junk that has been piled upon us on this planet Earth. So it's about releasing, transmutation, alchemy of energy, becoming more awake, more conscious, more alive, more aware, more of who we really are. That's our task right now. If you don't do that, you can't do anything else. Because that is, if we're not functional in the universe as the creators that we really were meant to be, we need to start right now. We're on planet Earth. There's no time to waste. We need to begin a process of restoration of ourselves as fully functional creators in this universe. From that point, as we embark on that journey, we will also happen to notice that we have more and more and more influence. We need to begin to learn how to literally create reality, starting with an understanding of energy. We need to function as quantum creators. Not creators in the earthly sense, but creators from a quantum level of existence. And that's the evolutionary path that we need to put ourselves on, probably as immediately as possible. And I'm probably going to go into this in a little more in depth in another video, but for right now, I think I've probably given you guys a lot to think about with this video. So I think we'll just leave it at that for now and just continue on in future videos. Now, I also told you guys, I think in my last video or a previous one, that I was going to continue to remind you about this Healy device that I've been talking so much about, this quantum technology. The reason I want to bring it up as often as I do, and I will continue, so if you don't like it, just don't watch this part of the video. But the reason I keep bringing it up is because this device is an accelerator, it's an amplifier, it's an evolutionary tool. There's nothing that this device will do for you that you cannot do for yourself. You can do it all yourself, no question about it. You do not need a device to do any of what you can do with this device. I want to be real clear about that because people will say, well, why do we need a device, Saratoga? We should be able to do it ourselves. Well, of course we can do it ourselves. That's not even an issue. All this does is it acts as a bridge to the quantum field of infinite possibilities, the quantum field of information. It just gives us a nice little bridge to get over into that field of, well, it's even prior to energy. It's how energy gets created and formulated in the form of frequencies that then manifest into the physical universe. It just gives us a nice little bridge to be able to get there more quickly, to get there faster, to get there with a lot more ease. That's all it does. But we are still the directors of our own creations. We are still the directors of ourselves. So honestly, you could get yourself a Healy and just use it in a mild sort of way. You know, I'm just going to use this to help me feel better. And yes, you'll feel better. There's no question about that. You'll definitely feel better. Or you can really take it to a whole other level and literally use it to assist you in your evolution in some very, very, very powerful ways. And anything and everything in between. Because this device is neutral. It doesn't have preferences. You are the decider. You are the creator. You are the one who determines what you want it to do for you. Now, one of the ways that I am using it is I find that this thing really gives me what I'll call sight into all of the energetics of what is going on inside of this body, mind, and emotions, this vehicle that I personally occupy on planet Earth. Because it's all about frequencies. It's almost like you get, for me, I get an experience of all of this matter, all of the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings, the physicality, being translated into a much higher state of energy, which is the state of pure frequency. And when that happens, oh, lo and behold, I can see stuff I couldn't see before. I couldn't see it before because I had, I'll say, contextualized everything as parts and pieces that don't often match up. Do you ever have that inside of yourself where let's say you're doing the inner work and you notice, you know, I have thoughts, I have beliefs, I have experiences, I have traumas, and I got all these different compartments of experience inside of me. and they don't match. And some of them don't even make any sense. And I don't remember certain things, and I don't know how other things got there. And you're sitting there in this kind of like weird, I actually wanted to say haunted house. I don't even know why. I think I wanted to say it because sometimes the patterns and the junk and the beliefs and the fears and the traumas can almost seem like, as an infinite being of love and light, you could feel like, sometimes I feel like I'm in a haunted house or something, right? And the ego, which is always, battering you with all of these dumb ideas and beliefs and thoughts. And I mean, look what we're in the middle of here. It's crazy, right? So for me, I just find that when it all gets changed, not even changed, but experienced and understood as frequencies of energy, that's all it is. It's all just frequencies of energy. It's kind of like layers start to peel away and you can see things you didn't see before. You start to understand things you didn't understand before. It's kind of amazing. Now, whether or not you have a Healy, whether or not you even want one, I still share this with you because I want to encourage you to do this yourself, with or without this device. With or without it, this is something we all need to do, period. We need to become energy alchemists. And we cannot do it unless we function at the level of frequencies and unless we function at a quantum level of being and understanding. So the Healy itself does not change what we must do as human beings. Most people on Earth are probably not going to get one of these things. Does that change what we need to do? No. It's still the same journey. It's still the same process. It's still the same evolutionary path. If you feel inclined that you just want to insert a little bit of help and support in that journey, this is one I highly recommend. If not, do it anyway. And I'll give you a little clue about doing it anyway. Don't ask how. Archangel Michael told me, he told me this one time, and someone else in Telstar, someone else that I channel, and I can't remember if it was John or Adam, but one of them said to me, Archangel Michael said to me, he actually suggested something to me a long time ago, sort of an interdimensional experience, and he said, don't ask how. Promise you won't ask how. And I was like, okay, I won't ask how. And that's why I had an amazing experience, right? But then another time, it was either John or Adam who said, how is the question of death? Now, before you freak out, let me explain to you what he meant by that. He meant it's the question of death, meaning it can lead to the death of your vision, or it can lead to the death of your desire. And it makes so much sense to me, because the moment you ask how, you are projecting a condition on the outcome. So if you have a vision or a desire or something you want to accomplish, you're kind of telling yourself, I can't just intend that outcome. What you're telling yourself is, I'm not really willing to get behind any intention for that outcome unless I first know how it's going to happen. And then it gets even worse, because the how has to fit in with what you already know. But there's a problem with that. Here's the problem. What you already know is not giving you the information or the opportunities to have that outcome manifest. Because if it was, you would have already done it and you wouldn't be sitting here asking how. So we don't actually need to ask how. I think the how question comes from the ego. I think the ego wants to know how everything's supposed to happen because that's what keeps the ego in control. So as a creator, we are all quantum creators. We are by nature. That is who we are. That's why I say this is something we all need to do. It's not about the Healy, having it or not. It is who we are as human beings. When we get to those higher levels of consciousness, we don't ask how. We just do. We intend. We create. And that is the whole point of what I've been talking about here today, is to reposition ourselves, realign ourselves with the truth of who we are as powerful, cosmic, beautiful, loving creators. Oh, and let me add one more quick thing about the how question. What is the immediate result of asking how and not having an answer? The immediate result, when you depend on an answer for that how in order to do anything in your life, the immediate answer is shutting it down. The immediate answer is, well, I don't know how, therefore it's not possible. Therefore I can't do it. Therefore it's never going to happen. So you actually shut down your own ability to create. Now, it's okay to think about, wonder how, or have a plan or something like that. I'm not saying don't plan. I'm not saying don't intend with practical steps in a certain direction. All I'm saying is when you have a desire, when you have a vision, when you have an intended outcome, don't make the how question shut it all down. That's really the point. So I will put a link in the description below so where you can get some more information about the Healy, or if you've been thinking about it and you want to buy it, you can just go there and get it from a link that's on that site. So with all that said, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would like to really rethink their ability to function as a beautiful human being in this universe. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I am here on Tuesdays with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.